welcome back to this week's episode of Outside the Arena with Mac and Griff. I'm Griffin Senek, joined by my co-host, Mac Rommel, and today we have a slightly different episode planned for you today. We're going to be introducing something new to the channel, something we're both very excited about, and we're going to take a week off from the normal podcast you see where we're talking to sports broadcasters or, talking some sports. We're going to switch that up, and we're going to intro a new segment to the podcast, which is going to be the fantasy football edition of Outside the Arena. So, Mac, do you want to kind of get us started with what this plan is?
Yeah, so we're planning on making like 2 episodes a week now. One, a regular broadcast and podcast, which is what we've been doing, and then one also with fantasy football. And this should be for probably about the next 16, until the NFL regular season ends, and whenever fantasy football ends. And we're basically just going to be talking about sleepers, just players we like, and basically everything and whatever you guys want to, especially leave that down in the comments. We're going to make sure to talk about that and get into it here in this fantasy edition.
Yeah, another thing we're definitely going to try and do is get some fantasy football experts. We're definitely hoping to bring at least a few on, and maybe some other people as well. We're still, working it out, but definitely, we're going to be trying to get a lot of fantasy football people. I mean, that would be excellent. And I think it'd be super fun for everyone to watch. And another thing with the, fantasy thing, I think it's just going to be something that's not going to be as long. It's not going to be, the 40-minute interview with some of these broadcasters, which is great. We love that. We're not going to stop doing that because that's what we love. But it's going to be a different thing. It's going to be something where you can sit down for 10, 15 minutes. It'll be something you can watch, listen to, argue with. And, we're just going to go through. We're going to break down everyone's performances, guys we're worried about. We'll talk about injuries, potential sleepers. And it's just going to be a great way to, get some advice, not maybe from an expert, but, from one of us. So you might not want to trust it, but, it will be something that'll be interesting. I can promise that.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm thinking we just start getting right into it. And are you thinking you want to start off with players you like?
Sure. I mean, I've mentioned this on, I believe, 2 episodes ago. A sleeper I have is Le'Veon Bell. I think he's projected in like the 4th round right now. And I think with that updated O-line, I'm really liking his production this year. And, the passing offense is there's still some inconsistency with who they're going to be passing the ball to. I mean, they've got options, but I still think that Le'Veon Bell is going to have a really big year. So that would be, I would say my biggest, he's not like a sleeper, but I think he's going to perform like a first, second round talent. So that would be one of my big sleepers. What about you, Mac? Who do you got as your big sleeper?
I'm liking Kenyon Drake. I know he's like a first, second round pick for everyone, like where he's projected like in fantasy when you're drafting and stuff like that. But I think he's gonna have a great year with that offense. They upgraded their left tackle there with Josh Jones in the 3rd round of the draft. That was a steal. I thought he could go late first or even in the 2nd. So that's a great pick for them. And I know they're gonna be using him in the pass game, so I'm excited to see that. And he's gonna flourish now without David Johnson there, now being in Houston. So he's going to flourish there. I think he's going to have a great year, especially be used in a pass game a lot.
For some sleepers now, I guess we can go, pick a sleeper each. Mac, who's a sleeper you got that, for everyone listening, they should probably avoid in the draft? Or not a sleeper, sorry. Sorry, I'm a little tired. A bust, we'll say. A bust. Who do you got as a bust?
This is tough for me, but I'm going to go with a quarterback. I know you either love him or hate him to me, but it's Aaron Rodgers. I really don't like him. I sadly ended up getting him in one of my drafts, but I'm trying to trade him away because all the quarterbacks got taken before me. And but yeah, I don't really like him. I've never really been a fan of his, and I think he's just regressing at this age, especially him and now having Jordan Love on the team. I feel like it's kind of going to be a distraction to him. And then his only real weapon in the passing game is Devontae Adams. He doesn't really have anyone else that's special in the pass game. I'm not excited to see how he plays this year. I don't think he's going to be great.
I think it should be interesting. I mean, he wasn't a stud fantasy quarterback last year, so I definitely don't think he's going to be a top 5, maybe not even top 10 guy, because I just don't see that kind of production out of that offense this year, especially with, a solid division. With the Bears have a great defense, the Vikings are a solid team, and the Lions they're the Lions, but who knows? A guy who I have is I'm not so big on. He's not like a top 3 round guy. He might be in the 3rd round. Is from your Dallas Cowboys, Amari Cooper. I am worried about his production this year with the addition of CeeDee Lamb to that offense. I think that's just another guy that needs the ball on that team that's going to get the ball. And with already Michael Gallup, I mean, we saw at the end of last year, Amari's production, he was injured, but he was a little inconsistent. He had a hot stretch during the middle of the season, and then at the end of the season, he really struggled at times. He even, I don't believe, even might have had a catch against the Pats game that one time, which I think screwed me in a game last year. So, I mean, a little ill will towards Amari, but at the end of the day, I still like him, but I don't see him having a stud year this year. So I just think there's too many weapons in that offense. It's kind of like the Buccaneers offense. I mean, there's a lot of weapons there. It's like one guy might be booming out of the rest, and then the others might be, average options. And I think Amari might be an average option. I think Zeke, they're going to get the ball to Zeke a lot. So I don't know. With CeeDee Lamb coming in the passing game, I'm going to say Amari's going to have a bit of a decrease in production this year.
And speaking of busts and players we don't like, is there anyone that's normally projected to go in the top 5 that you're not really liking?
I mean, I like in the guys in the top 5, McCaffrey, Saquon, and Zeke, I think will be good this year. With the Saints guys, Kamara and Thomas, I think you're getting into more of a risk again because one of those guys I bet is going to have a super great year. And then the other, I don't see, I don't believe you can have 2 top 5 fantasy players on the same team. I just don't think that's possible because that production would be ridiculous, especially with a guy like Emmanuel Sanders and they got Taysom Hill doing stuff. I mean, there's too many options. So I'm going to say Michael Thomas is going to have a big downgrade this year. I think his production is going to go down with Emmanuel Sanders because that's another guy that's going to be open. And I just don't think you can have that kind of season. I mean, it was a historic season. He had a great year, but I just don't see him having, that kind of superstar year again. I think Kamara, he was bad last year in fantasy for where he went. He was like at the 3rd pick, I think. I think he'll have a better year. I'm not sure he's my 4th best running back. I think I'd rather take a guy like a Dalvin, maybe even a Derrick Henry over him. But as a late first, I like Kamara. Michael Thomas, probably a late first too, just off his production last year. But I don't know. Those guys scare me. What about you, Mac?
I agree with what you're saying, but I'm going to have to go opposite of what you said. I'm going to have to go, I think Alvin Kamara is going to have a down year again. Last year he was projected to do very well, but I don't know, injuries and stuff kind of messed that up. But he's more of a pass catcher. He's not really a top 3 in either category as a rusher or in the pass game, I don't think, personally. So I'm not sure how I feel he's going to be in their system this year. I feel like they're going to want to focus on the pass more, which is what they won with last year with Michael Thomas. And Michael Thomas, I think he's going to have a great year, especially because he wins off those short routes. So it's going to be very quick, and Drew Brees is going to get the ball quick out of his hands.
Yeah, no, I still see the production there, and I'm sure he'll be a wide receiver 1. I just don't think he's worthy of the 4th pick in the draft. That's my personal opinion. Any All right, let's go through positions then, I guess, since this is the, intro episode real quick. Quarterback, give me your top option if you're drafting. Who's your number 1 at quarterback?
Lamar. It's easy.
Lamar.
He gets you so many. He'll get you so many points. Just he's so versatile in the pass and the run, and by running the ball, he's going to get a lot of points. A touchdown if he's rushing, that's 6 points there, and then also every 10 yards is a point. Unlike with the pass, I'm bad with how the passing works, but yeah, I think he runs the ball a lot. That's what's going to make him versatile. And then I like Kyler Murray too as probably my quarterback 3 behind Patrick Mahomes. Just I think that he's bound for an up year with Kenyon Drake and DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald. He's bound for a great year. Their offensive line is upgraded a little bit, so it's gonna give him more time, and I think he's gonna succeed a lot more this year.
I'm going to have to disagree with what you just said. I think Kyler is going to be top 10, but because of his abilities, but I don't think he's top 3 quite yet. He's got the weapons to do it. I just am still worried about that offensive line. I still don't think it's quite where it needs to be. I think they upgraded it, but it was like dumpster fire level last year. So I don't think it's like you're kind of just creeping out of the dumpster, but you're still in the dumpster. So it's not good enough where I think it worries me a bit with him, but I think he will have a great year. I think he'll be a top 10, top 7 quarterback, but top 3 I think is a stretch. I'm going to go with my number 1 is Mahomes. I think Mahomes, I honestly think he had, like, weirdly enough, in the regular season, he had a down year. I don't think he had the production he did in this MVP type season. And I think, you get Clyde Edwards-Helaire in that offense, and they're raving about him over there. I'm not so sure about his fantasy production, but I think Mahomes is going to have a huge year. I think Lamar is going to be good. I don't think he's going to be as good as last year. I think he, like Mahomes, is going to have a little drop in production. He'll still be top 3 quarterback, and I think Lamar is my 2. But I would say Mahomes is going to be my favorite this year. Running back, I think that's pretty obvious. Mine's McCaffrey, Saquon's at 2. Yeah, I think those guys they're going to kill it. You can't go wrong with those, and you're going to need a top 2 or 3 pick. Zeke could, there could be people who take Zeke at 2 or something like that, but I think McCaffrey's the consensus number 1 this year.
Yeah.
Wide receiver, who do you got it?
For wide receiver, I'm going to go with Michael Thomas and then Devontae Adams right behind him. Although we were talking about Devontae Adams before, just as actual how Devontae Adams actually plays, I think that'll help boost him. But I think his production is just going to depend on the scheme and how much they want to use Aaron Rodgers' arm this year. But Michael Thomas is definitely going to be number 1 for me. Just best short route runner in the NFL. Best hands, over 110 catches last year. Set the catching record last year, most catches in a season. So, especially PPR, he's going to be dangerous this year once again.
I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think Michael Thomas is going to repeat, as I've said earlier. I truly do believe that Julio Jones is in for a big year. He's kind of had these, average fantasy years these past years because he hasn't been getting touchdowns. And I think this year, I think he's going to have that huge year. I just feel it. I mean, his skill's there. You can't doubt that. He is getting up there in age a little bit. I think he's in his 30s, but I mean, he's not old yet. He's not Larry Fitz at 37 or 38, however old Larry Fitz is. But I think Julio's my 1 this year. And I think D-Hop and Michael Thomas are kind of my 2 and 3. I think D-Hop might be better. But there's a lot of options on both those offenses, so it could be risky. And then after that, Devontae Adams definitely, I think, is a top option. Even I just wouldn't consider him a first-round pick necessarily. I'd probably take him in the early second round. And I think with the receiver, I think it's going to really depend on, who's seeing the ball a lot. I mean, there's gonna be the top guys, and then after that, it's kind of like nobody knows, and that's where those are the guys that are picked rounds 3 through 6. I mean, any of those guys could be the best receiver or the worst receiver. You really don't know.
Yeah, because
tight end. Sorry.
I would put someone like Tyreek Hill up there in like that top 3 conversation potentially, but just the amount of options they have on that team, I'm not sure how I'd feel about him being top 3 just because how much they could spread the ball out, especially now with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So although I would really like him, it's just I feel like the big worry is, are they going to be able to get the ball?
Yeah, no, I think that is 100% the issue with a bunch of these guys, which sucks because you want to see them get the ball, which is why I think Julio's going to have a huge year because Matt Ryan's still a great quarterback. And, I mean, Julio's probably – you can arguably say he's the best receiver in the league. I think he is. So I think Julio's down for a huge, huge year. Tight end-wise, I know I interrupted you earlier trying to say it, but who do you got at tight end?
My top tight ends, they're everyone's top tight ends, Kittle and Kelsey. But that's pretty obvious. You could basically flip-flop them. To me, I feel like they're same. They're kind of even of where they're at as a player, although they play 2 different types of game. But I want to talk about a sleeper here that I really love. Just because I love this player so much, I got to talk about him. Darren Waller, he's a beast. Last year, he had a great year.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
Yeah. I picked him off of waivers last year. And just having him the whole year, how amazing he was and how much he helped my team, I have to bring him up. I think he's going to be a great player this year once again. Although he may not be the sleeper he was considered last year, he's going to be a great player, going to score easily 10-plus points week in and week out.
Yeah, I think Waller for me is a top 5 tight end. I agree with the Kittle Kelsey thing. I think they're kind of even. I think with Kelsey though, I think he's going to need touchdowns this year in order to be the best, because I don't think his catches are going to be on the level that Kittle's will be. I think Kittle's definitely going to have more catches.
Yeah.
But Kelsey, I mean, if he's great, I think they're 1 and 2. And I think it's just going to depend. If Kelsey's getting a lot of touchdowns, then I think he's going to have a huge year. Gronk, you never know. I don't think he's going to be huge in that offense.
Yeah, I agree.
So I would probably stay away from him. I think he's a little overrated. And also, I don't think he's going to be in there as like they have OJ Howard still. I think they'll be careful with Gronk, especially with his injury past. I think he's going to be kind of reserved. So I'd stay away from Gronk in the tight end category. Honestly,
Yeah, I agree with that, especially for Gronk. Just if you're worried about like for the receivers spreading the ball around, imagine for them when Tom Brady
yeah,
has Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and they're going to be playing with 2 tight ends on at the same time for the majority. That's how they want to play. So they're going to have OJ Howard there from tight end position. So if you're worried about spreading the ball around, this is the offense you got to be worried about.
yeah. I definitely think I'd be wary of Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I'd probably stay away from them in the early second round. I think those guys are drop can. I think they might fall to the third round, but if they do fall to the third round, I think it's worth the risk because those guys could be wide receiver 1, both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those guys are greatly talented. It's just going to depend on who's getting the ball.
I agree.
Well, we talked a lot of fantasy here. We do want to save some for future episodes. Obviously, next week, I think the plan is to upload on either Wednesdays or Fridays. I think we'll figure it out. The normal episodes will still be out Thursday, I believe, but it could change. So make sure to be tuned into our Instagram to find out. We're still figuring it out. And hopefully, we'll have some guests on next week. We'll look into a fantasy football expert. That would be fantastic. I know we'd both love to talk to one of those guys. And yeah, that's all I got.
So I'll take it away from here. And one thing I want to say also, we really haven't talked about it, but I think I start school next week, so I'm guessing the times of when we upload the episodes may change a little bit to a little bit later, just to let you guys know, just because we have to record things a bit later as well. So I just want to let
Yeah.
you know.
No, for sure. Jumping off that, I definitely agree. Just stay tuned to our social medias at Outside the Arena Podcast on Instagram. And yeah, just because things will change. I don't think 4:00 on Thursday is probably going to be happening every time, just off of when it takes. But we're going to try our best to get all these episodes out, and we're going to work hard. We're gonna make sure that we get the best kind of content out there for you guys. And yeah, I'm excited. And once again, if anyone watching has any contacts to any sports broadcasters, people in sports, stuff like that, please just let us know. You can, if you have my personal information or Mac's personal information, you can text one of us, or you could just DM either of our personal Instagrams or the Outside the Arena Podcast Instagram, because we'd greatly appreciate it. We'd love to talk to a lot of these guys, and any little bit helps, so yeah, that's all I got.
So with that, I guess we'll end it here. Everyone, thanks for watching this episode of Outside the Arena with Mac and Griff. Make sure to turn those post notifications on so you can stay up to date of when we post a new video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And go over to Instagram and follow us there at Outside the Arena Podcast. And next week, we're going to make sure we drag someone outside the arena.